video we're going to be painting our little wizardy chappy, Hadrathus. So, what do we have in mind? Well, I'm thinking of using two different colours for his robe and what look like his trousers. So the robe is going to be done, the base coat in Incubi Darkness, and the trousers in Caliban Green. The flesh I want fairly pale, so we're going to go with Ungor flesh. And then we have other little bits and pieces, like his sandals and that leather belt thing we'll do with Scrag Brown. The staff that he's carrying we will do with Dryad Bark. The flames in his hand we're going to do, I think, a little differently, but you'll find out what we're going to do with that a bit later, because I'm keeping that one a secret. So let's get on with it, shall we? First off, flesh tones. We start with the flesh tones. Ungor flesh, as I said, we're going to be using. So let's get some of that on our palette. Well, there's not a lot of flesh with this fella, so I'll just put the paint down onto the palette and wash our brush, and then using, I think we're going to use our number 4 rosemary coal brush. I know it's a little big, but well, it's got a nice point on it, so we can get into the details. If it works for Bob Ross, it works for me. Ha 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 ha. So, there we are, and all we're doing is going over the flesh tones with this colour. All of the flesh tones, that is, which isn't really much because we have hands, feet and face. That's it. Nothing more. Oh, there's a little bit of wrist here as well. So there we are, we will do wrist, this hand, there we go. And again, we're applying this very, very watery, very much like a wash, because we want a nice even, well, not nice even, nice graduation between the highlights, and this allows that to happen. Plus the fact that we have already pre-shaded this to give some shadows, using a very watery paint will actually allow that pre-shading to show through. Now we've got some good effects, a good finish with the other minis, as you might remember if you've watched the Conan, Hadrathus and the snake. In fact, no, we didn't do the snake in this technique, we used just a wash for that. So if you watch Conan and Hadrathus videos, that's how we did these. And now the feet, we have sandals on the feet, so we're going to be obviously painting the straps a different colour, just so we can make them out. Obviously, no other reason than that. And there we are. And if I couldn't see his feet, I'd be tempted to put white socks, give him white socks, but there we are. And that is his face done. His face done, his skin tone's done. There we are. Next, what we have to do is his robe. And as I said, we're going to use that, do that with Inky by Darkness. It's a very, very dark bluey grey. Sorry, greeny grey, not bluey grey, greeny grey. There we go. And again, our number 4 brush, get most of the water off it, and then get into the paint. And now we can just apply it. In fact, there's seem to be two levels of the robe. So I'll do this level with this colour. We'll do a different colour for the next layer. And we just noticed that. I thought it was all one thing, but looking at this now, it does look as though it's a completely different layer. So that's what we'll do. There we go. I'm trying to work out whether all this is one sort of like item of clothing or whether it's a separate cape. I actually think it is a separate cape, so I may have to dig out another colour for that yet. Although saying that I might do it the same colour as I do this part here, I don't know yet. So we'll just add the colour where it needs to go, or we think it needs to go. I'm still trying to work out about this cape, which I think it is all one piece. So looking at it, I think that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it all as one piece. If it isn't one piece, then it's two pieces that's the same colour. Yeah, there we are. A little more water on my brush because it's getting a little dry now. And yeah, let's carefully around the face so we don't end up getting any of this paint colour on the skin tone. If you do, don't worry about it, you can always go over it again, but try to be as neat as possible. Yeah. I'm not sure what that is on his forehead. It doesn't look like her. It looks like something, shall we say, artificial, so I'm going to do that in black. And hopefully it works. I say at the moment all we're doing now is just blocking in colour. We're not bothered about getting highlights and things done. You've painted with me often enough to know that that's how it's done, or you've seen the painting videos that I've done often enough to know how I'm doing this. And if this is your first video, then well, I'm just blocking colour in, I'm not doing anything else. You know, it's weird to think that people actually just come to my videos straight to one of my later ones rather than watching quite a few of the earlier ones, and I sometimes forget that that's what happens. So if I do repeat myself, or say things that you've already heard time and time again, or say things that you think is a bit what's the word I'm looking for? Let me just angle the camera up a little because I seem to be going off camera quite a bit on this one. Yeah, so if I keep saying things that you've heard me say before, or say things that you already know, like for example when I just said I'm just blocking in colour, that's for anybody who's just come straight to this video knowing nothing about painting. You know, so it's not everybody's an expert at painting, and some people just come to videos just to see how one thing's done because they've just sort of like either just got the game or just want to see how this particular figure's painted. And I'm catering to everybody, not just the people who have been following the channel for a while. So there we are. Next, I think what we're going to use is Eshin Grey next, and this one is going to be the part that I thought was part of his robe, and doesn't seem to be. So I'm going to use a little bit of that, and I'll put that away and get some water on my brush. I'll get the brush that I'm actually using, put some water on it. Oh dear. And we have get paint on the brush and add it to the area that we want to add it to. I'm going to basically assume that this is the same part that is there. Because it will break the colour up completely if I did that, so it's all the better, so we don't have too much of the same colour. And there we are, we have Eshin Grey here. Now I've seen quite a few pictures of this and they all seem to paint it. There's only one or two I've seen where they've painted different areas, different colours, and I've liked the way it looked, so that's why I'm doing it like this. But I only usually see 2 colours, not 3, so I'm being awkward. So next, that's that bit done. We're now going to be using the Caliban green, and that will be going over his, for want of a better word, trousers. I'll wash the brush. That's what we're using. There we go. It's a different shade of green than the what was it called? Inky by Darkness. This is a dark green rather than like a greeny grey colour. And this just adds that little bit extra, I think. There we go. Just have to watch which green I'm putting the brush into when I'm topping up my paint. We always find when you're a little bit overconfident about things when you're painting, accidents will happen. Quite often they can be happy accidents because they leave you wide open for improving something, or it gives you an idea to do something else. But sometimes those accidents actually can ruin the job that you're doing, so you have to watch out what you're doing. So there we are, that's Hadrathus. Most of the base colouring is done. We've got 1 or 2 areas to do now. First off, we're going to be using a little bit of Abaddon Black, and that is going on the rock that he's standing on, and that thing that's on his forehead, whatever it may be. So we'll get a bit done. He certainly doesn't like her, there's no texture to it, it just looks very artificial, so that's why I'm doing that. And now, as I say, the rock that Hadrathus is standing on, we'll do this in the black, and doing it as a wash, what you'll find is it gives it a nice rocky look anyway, because it comes away from the highlighted areas and leaves those a little brighter. And because it's water, it tints it, and I've missed some with the green I've just noticed, so I'll go back into that in a moment. There we go. So I'll just clean my brush and go back into the Caliban green, and I can use it here to do the area I missed. There we go. Ta-ta-ta. I've also just noticed that I've missed a little on his heel with this for the skin tone, so we'll go back into the skin tone. Like so, and it's only a little spot, but it will be noticeable. There we go. Let's just neaten up a little bit around the forehead area. That will do. Now we want to change brushes, and this time what we're going to be doing is the very fine detail areas. For example, his sandals. So we will pop some Scrag Brown onto our palette. And with the brush, a fine detail brush, or much finer detail brush should I say, in this case it's a number 0 Rosemary & Co brush. I will go around the edges of his sandals, and we're picking up a little bit of black from the stone. Don't worry about that, it's not important. We'll also do these things here, whatever they may be. Little strap there. The one around his wrist. It looks like a bracelet, but I don't really want to do it as metallic. I would sooner do it in like a wood or stone finish. The what am I calling it now? The strapping on his sandals. Once I can get the brush into the right position to do the sole of the sandal. I'm not bothered about it being a much darker colour because it just makes it stand out that little bit more. So getting a little bit of the black on it doesn't matter at the moment. We can tart up afterwards if we need to, but for the time being I'm not too worried about it. But what I really do need to do, as I say, is just make sure the strapping is done in a nice bright cleanish colour. Like that. There we are. And that is that. Right. Rinsing it off a little bit more because I've gone back into the black. We're now going to the belt around his waist. And we're going to do that in this Scrag Brown colour as well. And there's like keys dangling from his belt, so I'm going to do them a little bit later in a metallic colour. And now his staff will be wood, so I don't want to do it in Scrag Brown, I want to do it in the Dryad Bark like I said I was going to. Dumb. So, Dryad Bark is that. It's a very bluish brown colour. It's very greyish. You know, whenever you add blue to a colour it greys it down. And oops, just knocked my lamp. Get some Come onto my brush, and did I just use this brush for putting paint on the palette? Oh, naughty, naughty. I'll try and keep these brushes nice. So we're using this to add the, what am I saying now? What I wanted to say was something completely different than what I seem to start to say. What we're doing now is making this a wooden staff. Looking at it though, it is a little bent, but if you're bothered about that, then dip it in some hot water and then plunge it in some cold water, and that should straighten it out. But I'm seeing it more of, it's a branch, part of a tree, so therefore it wouldn't be straight anyway. That's how I'm seeing it. It's adding a little bit of personality to the thing, and that's that. Now, so we're going to have something a little different for the flames, and we're not going to do these a normal flame colour. No, we're not. We're going to do these a very, 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 very pale, and I mean pale blue. So what I'm going to need for this is blue, surprisingly enough, and white. So first off, we're going to be using Altdorf Gerd Blue. And I'm going to add, doing it again, to add a little bit of this to the palette. It can only be a little bit because that's all I've got in the tub. Unless I've got another pot lying around somewhere. And we'll soon find out. And now the white. We want a lot more of this white to the blue, because we want to completely, and I mean completely, dilute the blue to a very, very bright colour, well, very, very pale colour of blue. There we are. Like that. And we're going to just paint this blue completely along the flame area. It may look a little strange at the moment, but bear with me, it's not going to look strange completely, because what we're going to do now is start adding blue, more blue into this to make the colour strengthen. So we need more of this blue. In. I'm going to check to see if I've got any more Altdorf Gerd Blue, because I'm struggling with this little bit. I have. So I can get rid of that pot now. And add some more of this into that white colour. And as you know from flames, the brightest part of the flame is the base, and as it gets further away from the base it gets darker and darker. And that is what will be happening here. And after this has dried a little bit, we're going to be going over with a different colour completely, so that it brings out the highlights, and we'll just add a few spots of the very neat, straight out of the tub, Altdorf Guard blue to this. And we'll wait until that dries, and then we can add a dry brush on the brighter areas with a completely different colour. I'm hoping you like this. So that is as far as we've got so far. What we need to do now is apply the washes. So we're going to be ignoring the flame for a second, and the wash for the clothing is going to be, when I can find it, there we are, an old faithful Drachenhof Nightshade. That's the one that's going to be on all the clothing. And I'm going all over this. It will give a nice deep shadow area, or shadow detail. And then it will leave the high points to be a little bit brighter. That's what washes do. You must have noticed that when I've been doing this, that when the watery paint goes on, it just seems to pool in the recesses. It's not brilliant coverage, and that's what you want when you're doing models, because you don't want it to go on too thick, because if you do that you run the risk of what's the word I'm looking for? Obscuring some of the detail. And it's a waste of time painting it if you're going to hide the detail. You might as well not bother painting at all. But so that really is something that should go without saying, unless you've never painted before. And as I said earlier, that is one of the reasons that I do these videos, to show people that it's not as hard as you may think it is to get a really good result. There we go. So that's all the Drachenhof Nightshade applied, just making sure it's not pooling where I don't want it, and now I can leave that to dry. Next on the charts is Reichland Flesh Shade. Guess where that's going? All over the skin. Yes! So we'll do the feet first. This hand face, and now this hand. just like so. And next, I'm not going to be using a wash on the flame, I'm going to be using a glaze. And that glaze is a blue glaze, and it's Guillermin blue, and that will intensify the blue colouring. I mean, what I could have done, I suppose, is just paint the flame white and then just gone over with this, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to try something a little different. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's the way I see it. So we have a nice blue flame there, and now what we do is we wait to see how that dries. So join me in the next video and we'll see what we can do with this fella. Oh, but first, before we go, remember this fella? We did it in the last video. I didn't paint the base, did I? So let's get it done now, shall we? And that way it can be protected. Oops. So we'll pop him out of the way, because what I want to do is that's a brand new one. I don't want the brand new one. I did have one that was open. I have no idea what I've done with him. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Nope, it's not you. Can't see it. Oh well, I'll just have to use this one. And this is the Rhinox hide. Let's get a little bit of water on my brush, dip it into the paint and just slap it on. Doesn't have to be brilliant coverage this, it's not important at all. We're going to be going over this with something else. Just as long as there's a covering on it, that is all that matters. We will be tightening this edge up after we've finished doing the whole base, but I just need to get just the base covered in a darkish colour. We'll probably go over it again just to be on the safe side before we actually apply the technique of what we're going to be doing with this, but we'll see how it goes. I just want to get the base covered, and then we can work from there. Right, so that's it for this video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Let's just get my brush cleaned and we can have another look at what we've done. So we've done the base on this fella, but the majority of this video is to do with Hadrathus, and this is he. So until we come back, this fella will be drying, and when we come back we can start highlighting. So until then, as always, take care, God bless, and bye for now.